Hello, my name is Lisa McLaughlin, and I am here today to talk to you about the country of Brazil. I'd like to start off with some interesting facts on Brazil. First, Brazil got its name after the Brazil wood tree. This tree is unique because it produces a deep red dye that is used to dye fabrics. The wood of the tree is used for bow making, and today it's also considered an endangered species. The Brazilian flag, like the image on the right, incorporates some interesting symbolisms of Brazil. For example, the green background represents the Brazilian forests. The yellow rhombus is a representation of the mineral wealth. And the blue circle and stars represent the sky of Rio de Janeiro when they declared themselves a republic on November 15th, 1889. The population of Brazil is over 201 million. I'd like to talk for a moment about why I chose Brazil. First, Christ the Redeemer statue. It is something that I would love to see in person. As you can see by the image on the right, this is a towering figure. It is actually named a new Seven Wonder of the World in 2007. This statue sits on top of the Corcovado Mountain, which is the highest point in Rio de Janeiro, and it can be seen from anywhere. This likeness of Jesus Christ is the fifth largest in the world, standing 98 feet tall, with an arm span of 92 feet, and it weighs 635 tons. Jesus' outstretched arms are a sign of welcome to all, and the statue was inaugurated in 1931. Another reason why I chose Brazil was their beautiful coastlines. If you look at the image on the right, all you see for miles are beautiful blue waters, blue sky, sandy beaches, and beautiful palm trees. Who wouldn't want to have a vacation in a spot like that? It looks like pure paradise. In fact, Brazil has the 16th longest national coastline in the world, made up of 5 beaches covering approximately 4,655 miles of coastline. Sun, sand, and warm weather make it a dream vacation spot. It is also the 5th largest country. Brazil is 5.35 million square miles, and it is the largest in South America and all of Latin America. Brazil is only slightly smaller than the United States. The United States is approximately 3,717,811 square miles, while Brazil is approximately 3,286,486 square miles. During the Cold War, Brazil was under military rule. The military overthrew the government in 1964 and maintained control for over 20 years. At that time, Brazil was facing high inflation rates and rising national debt, and the military felt it was time they took over. The Institutional Act was enforced on April 9, 1964. This gave the military free rein to do what they wanted, like bending the law to suit their needs. Areas that drove the economy were industrialization, with a focus on manufacturing of durable consumer goods, and additional resources included mining, transportation, steel production, and oil refining. In the early 70s, Brazil experienced what they called a Brazilian miracle. It was a time of tremendous economic growth, and that was due to the changes that the military had made in their government. But the government also controlled who received the wealth, and they kept the poor down. The middle class got better jobs, while the unskilled labor was left out in the cold. Wages were kept low, strikes were stopped before they could even get started, and anyone that complained suddenly disappeared. They also made it easy for the wealthy to get credit, because they wanted them to buy high-priced items like cars, electronics, and domestic appliances. But it was time for the military to bail out when the economy collapsed with the oil crisis, along with the mounting debt and soaring interest rates. Another event during the Cold War for Brazil was Operation Condor. This was a right-wing secret operation involving Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay, along with support from the United States. Their goal was to stop the spread of communism and eliminate political threats by whatever means necessary. Phases included Phase 1, extreme measures such as abduction, torture, and interrogation to eliminate the opposition. Phase 2, sharing the information amongst your alliances to gain intelligence. And Phase 3, commando forces were mobilized to stop military opposition using any means necessary. Operation Condor was active for more than 7 years, with an estimated 15,000 to 30,000 fatalities. Imperialism in Brazil involves Portuguese. The Portuguese settled in Brazil in 1500. When they settled, Brazil was undeveloped and inhabited by the Brazilian Indians. Throughout their settlement and over time, the Brazilian Indians were eventually pushed aside and African slaves were brought in. Settlers focused on developing commodity exports. Sugar was profitable until 1650s, when they faced strong competition from the Caribbean. And in 1690, gold was discovered, and in 1720, diamonds. Immigration at that time soared because everyone wanted to reap the benefits of mining for gold and diamonds. Throughout the 18th century, Brazil shipped between 800 and 850 tons, and demand fell as the better deposits were depleted. Brazil declared their independence in 1822. The son of the Portuguese monarch was actually named the emperor. Independence came with a high tax burden and some benefits. Brazil was now able to create their own banking system, print paper money, indulge in mild inflation, and borrow on the international capital markets. Brazil's foundation for economic growth was agriculture. Sugar, tobacco, and coffee were the primary crops of Brazil's foreign exchange. 95% of Brazil's population at this time were slaves, and they were the main source of labor. In talking about Brazil and globalization, commodities are very important to Brazil's economy. Top exports include soybeans, iron ore, raw sugar, and meat. They also rely very heavily on their trade relations with China. Annual trade was $2 billion in 2000 and soared to $83 billion in 2013. China's economy has slowed and demand has declined. This has had a negative impact on Brazil. The stock market is down 22% in the past year. Its currency lost a third of its value against the dollar. Brazil is also now facing corruption issues with the Petrobras scandal. When I think about modernization in Brazil, I'm automatically drawn to the development of Brasilia. Brasilia is the capital of Brazil and was inaugurated in 1960. It was built to be a futuristic city with modern architecture and glass buildings. As you can see from the picture on the right, this is an extremely futuristic city. People consider it the capital of hope. It was said to be the perfect place to raise a family with top schools, excellent recreational facilities, and a lower crime rate. It was built in the hopes to bring people more inland instead of settling along the coastline. And through this modernization, the bossa nova became famous. Although Brasilia brought a fair amount of hope to Brazil, it also left the country with a high debt on top of rising inflation. Modernizations in 21st century Brazil include infrastructure updates that are in the works for airports, roads, and railways. Airport traffic has doubled, and highways carry 2/3 of Brazil's transported goods. Brazil ranked low on quality, ranking 107 out of 144 from the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report. This is what spurred on for infrastructure changes to make it more safe and effective. In 2017, it was announced that they are now outsourcing jobs. Brazil can now outsource any job since the Brazilian Congress passed a law in March of 2017. This allows temporary contract work to have extensions from 3 months to 9 months. It is also expected to create more jobs for over 12 million people that are unemployed at this time. The challenges that face Brazil start with the economic recession. In 2015, Brazil was facing falling prices in commodities. Oil took a downturn, major exports dropped, sugar was down 34%, and coffee beans down 25%. On top of that, China's declining demand caused Brazil's currency to lose value, and by the end of 2015, the economy was expected to shrink 2.3%. A recession was on the horizon for the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio. Next, the Petrobras scandal. This scandal is filled with corruption and bribery, and it is the heart of this thing. Top executives and government officials were skimming money from off overpriced contracts as part of a kickback scheme. And President Rousseff was also included in the investigation. Bribes total over $6 billion, and state losses total more than $25 billion. 179 people face criminal charges, and 93 convictions have been secured. The people of Brazil are furious, but hope this will bring about change. And President Rousseff was impeached in 2016. In conclusion, I'd like to sum up a few things about Brazil. They've faced their ups and downs throughout history, as most countries have, although they seem to have experienced an overall theme of corruption in their government. During the military rule, yes, they did experience tremendous economic growth, but that was at the price of bending the law to suit the best interests of the government and not the people. And today, the Petrobras scandal, which is the worst scandal Brazil has ever seen, plagued with corruption and bribery with top executives and, again, the government. As I mentioned previously, the citizens are enraged with this scandal, but they are hopeful that this will actually bring about change and finally remove corruption from their government. And hopefully Brazil can experience economic growth where all of the citizens can reap the benefits. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation today. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.